The Nintendo Entertainment System, one of my favorite consoles and beloved by many. This console is where most video games had their start, such as Super Mario Bros., Mega Man, Metroid, even Legend of Zelda. But did you know that there's actually more than meets the eye with this little console? Yeah, this thing actually holds a secret. No, I'm not talking about the expansion port that was never used underneath the console. No. It's actually hidden within some of its games. More so specifically, the black box title of games. What secret does it hold? Well, believe it or not, some of these games actually hold the Famicom adapter inside them. Pretty crazy, right? Now, why would Nintendo do such a thing? Well, there is no confirmed answer. All we can do is just speculate. And most speculation reveals that if you want to compare the two consoles, the NES with its Japanese counterpart, the Famicom, there are many differences with the looks. The reason being that the Famicom was released in 1983 in Japan, while over here in the States we were going through the video game crash. So when Nintendo was trying to figure out how to put the Famicom into American markets, they had to redesign the console so it doesn't look like a video game, since American consumers by that point were just turned off by video game consoles. So what Nintendo did was pretty genius if you come think of it. It doesn't look like a video game console. If anything, they designed it to look more so of a VCR. But because of that, they had to redesign the cartridges in a similar way too. And they're designed in a way for you to grab it with your fingers when taking it out of your console. And another thing that Nintendo added was a lockout chip. You see, the original Famicom doesn't have a lockout chip, so that means if you were to buy a bootleg game, it would run perfectly fine because there isn't anything deterring the program from running. Whereas the NES has the 10NES lockout chip, where if you were to buy a bootleg game, 9 times out of 10, it wouldn't run. If anything, the light would keep blinking. Because of the addition of the lockout chip, extra pins had to be added so it can fit inside the NES. So what Nintendo did was they took the old motherboards from the Famicom games, they added the adapter so it can play on North American NES consoles. But of course, later on they started making custom boards made specifically for the NES instead of reusing Famicom stock. Now you may be asking, how can I find a Famicom adapter for myself? Well, there's actually different ways to tell if your game in your collection has a Famicom adapter inside. One of the first things you have to look for is if your cartridge is a 5-screw cartridge. That's simple, you just look at the back and you count the amount of screws. Another way to tell, and this one's a little tricky too, so you're really going to have to focus your eyes with this one, is by looking at the edge connector underneath your cartridge. Yep, you see the gold pins right there? You see the little tab sticking out, and if it's onto the corner, then that's a way to tell that you have an adapter inside. If it's sticking in the middle, then it doesn't have an adapter. And of course, the surefire way to tell if it has an adapter is by opening up the game and looking at it for yourself. Now if you follow all those steps and you open up the cartridge and you just so happen to find a Famicom adapter inside your game, well, congratulations, you got yourself a little piece of Nintendo history and something that's pretty cool too. And you can make good use out of it too. You just simply take off the adapter out of its case, flip it around, and then you can actually jam a Famicom cartridge inside and whammo! It actually works! Make sure that the Famicom label is facing downwards. Now is it practical? Well, not really. You're better off buying an actual Famicom adapter to play on your NES console rather than using this. Now of course you can still use it, just it's not going to be as comfortable. You gotta remember which position to put your cartridges, and then taking it out, well, more times than not, at least it's happened to me, I find myself having the adapter stuck inside whereas I can get the Famicom cartridge out. So I have to dig for it. But apart from that, it is a pretty nifty, clever trick that you can find in your collection. Alright, I think I'm done playing Rockman 3. Let me see if I can get it out. Oh boy, no. You know, something about getting this thing out is just... Ow, the edge connector. You know, something about getting this thing out.